how far are you willing to take this contract thing?
Wow. Ideally it doesn't get to that because, I really don't want to be a distraction for the team. We've had multiple good conversations. It's just actions speak louder than words, and that's how
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Monster Monday, bright and early on a Monday morning here. We are presented, of course, by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Awesome guest today. Trey Hendrickson led the NFL in sacks. You ever heard of it? The NFL leading him in sacks? Very, very impressive. He's got a contract situation. So does T. Higgins. So does Jamar Chase. Perfect time to talk with Trey Hendrickson about where he's out at from a contract perspective. Love doing that. Plus, there's a lot of news. When we get to the off-season mode and we haven't had a show since Greg Cosell Thursday morning, which, by the way, is blowing up on YouTube, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Can't wait to talk to Greg this Thursday about the rest of the quarterbacks, Will Howard and Dylan Gabriel, Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers. Then there's a lot of news to get to. New week means new winners. It could be you. I want it to be you. Just engage with @RossTuckerPod on any platform or take advantage of any of the sponsors you hear on the show, like westshorehome.com/Ross, or go ahead and just make a shout out on YouTube, and I'll give you a video, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. If you want to make sure I see any of this stuff, email me, ross@rosstucker.com. It's Trey Hendrickson time. It's Big Show time. He's presented by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka. Please drink responsibly.
The Big Show.
All right, he had an unbelievable year for the Bengals, racking up the sacks. It was really exciting. It's actually crazy to me, talking with Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals. You and Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons, some of the numbers you guys put up with teams that didn't really have that many leads late in the game. If you think about it, if you were on one of these teams that won 13 or 14 games, your numbers could have been even better.
Yeah, that's a little bit on us too. Joe Burrow did his best to give us a lead. Absolutely, I don't want to throw him under the bus. We have some accountability in that. But I was blessed to rush the passer this year at a high level and being in good position with Lou Anarumo and his defense. And obviously the chips fell where they were, and I was able to lead the league.
Tell me on your right hand, the ring finger. What is that?
So this is the boutonniere finger. I'm trying to keep it straight. That's like Sam Hubbard and Nick Cosgray. They've got this brace. So keeping it straight 6 weeks should be good.
Okay, because you're one of the rare guys. You don't wear gloves.
Yeah.
And I always notice that watching you play. I'm blown away by that. I wore gloves, taped my wrists. I even the gloves. They have the grip on them. I felt like it was easier to grab stuff.
Right.
But you don't feel that's the case?
It was one of those things in New Orleans when I was here. I first got drafted here. At FAU, if it was a sticky game, I wouldn't wear gloves in college. But I fell off Tyrod Taylor a couple times, and then the rest was history. I'm done with gloves. I'm gonna grind it out, and that was it. And now we're here.
All right, you're from Apopka?
Yeah, Apopka, Florida.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
All right, tell me about Apopka. That's where Jalen Carter's from, right? And a lot of these guys?
Warren Sapp.
Yeah.
Yeah, good dudes.
So tell me about Apopka.
That's home. That was where I grew up. My parents, obviously, they instilled a lot of good hometown values from there. It's just Blue Darters, hardworking, dedicated, under Rick Darlington, and obviously Matt Anderson was my D-line coach there. Played a little bit of tight end, too, with his son throwing me the balls, Zach Darlington. He's strength coach in DeLand now. So,
okay.
Yeah, we got the hometown roots. We moved up towards Jacksonville where my wife's family is now. So,
okay.
Yeah, Florida for sure, though.
All right, but you've kind of always been, I guess, undervalued might be the right word. Why did you not have bigger offers than FAU?
Well, I was a little smaller side, not in height or speed. Just weight in general
Yeah.
to say a defensive end needs to be this weight, and I was rolling around like 210, 215
Yeah, okay.
on a good day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was fast. I could catch the ball. I knew I could do those things, but it was a tougher sell at the end. But FAU gave me an opportunity. I was able to start my junior and senior year, and the rest was history.
But then now, like, third round's nice, but you really could have been, if people knew what you'd become, you would have been a top 10 pick. So you were kind of undervalued coming out of FAU. That might have been because it was not like a Power 4 school, you think?
Well, I've been blessed to rush the passer, and I give all glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That I had 29.5 sacks in college. I knew it was something I could do and do at a high level. It's just kind of fitting in a scheme that made sense, and credit to Zach Taylor and Lou Anarumo and the Bengals organization for seeing that in me, and obviously the rest is history.
We got the Old Spice guy here. Trey, of course, is presented by Old Spice. You big Old Spice guy, Trey?
Yeah, I think in the shirt, they're in the NFL. I urge everybody to wear Old Spice, but we got total body dry field deodorant. It's getting you feeling great and fresh 24/7. And like I said, a lot of guys in the locker room, I urge to wear the product we have.
Nice. I want to know, because I've done a couple of your games on radio, what are you always saying after almost every play? Like, after almost every play, you're either talking to the quarterback or the offensive tackle or the ref. Like, it is rare after a play. Like, everybody else is getting lined up a lot of times, and you're still behind the play talking to some. Like, what are you talking about all the time?
Well,
are you talking trash? Or are you messing around
as
with
a tackle? Like, I was telling them that they're doing such a great job at playing at a high level, and then the quarterbacks as well. And
no, you're
and
not.
The refs, I'm clearly telling them that wasn't a call. No way. I think they were exactly right. Everybody was right, and they're doing great. That's all.
Now, are you a big trash talker?
I tend to play the game 100% in every form or fashion, and I might have adapted.
It's unbelievable. I was on the sideline for like the AFC Championship game, the one that you guys won, and I swear every play you were talking to the ref or Mahomes or the offensive tackle. Like, the whole time I was like, that's just who you are.
Yeah, I think Taylor One and I got into it the most. We jawed back and forth. He kind of, on his podcast, Busting with the Boys, he kind of, exposed me for my trash talking there.
Oh,
so
he did?
Yeah, he let the leak out. But, I won't be mic'd up anytime soon.
What are you going to do? How far are you willing to take this contract thing?
Wow. Ideally it doesn't get to that because, I really don't want to be a distraction for the team. We've had multiple good conversations. It's just actions speak louder than words, and that's how I play my game as well, even though I am a trash talker. So hopefully it's something. I love Cincinnati. My wife got her residency at the VA hospital there. My son was born there. I've had my most productive years in the National Football League there. They've given me a tremendous opportunity to represent them at the Pro Bowl and now an All-Pro. I love it. I love it there. I love the coaching staffs that I've made relationships with, whether they're in the building or not. And, moving forward, I would like to remain a Bengal. It's just some things in life, like long-term security, being able to tell my wife where we're going to raise our son and not have to worry about playing a violent sport and shifting of where we're going. That would be ideal. But, again, I want to help them win a Super Bowl. And however that looks, if they have plans to move me or keep me, that's up to them.
Yeah, that's a tough organization from a contract standpoint, man, because
they've taken such great care of me, though. They've done such an amazing job. I mean, to tell me being underrated, it was also like that in free agency. They had to take a chance and believe in me. So I don't want that to go underappreciated.
Yeah.
Because we do have this little uncomfortable business negotiations going on, but I don't want it to. They've taken care of me off the field as well. With my wife, they've been so supportive. They've taken good care of me. So
it's so funny, Trey, because I remember they let Carl Lawson go for whatever it was, like $16 million a year, right?
Sure.
And then they signed you for whatever it is, 15 or 14. And I remember saying on the radio, for $1 million more, you could have kept Carl Lawson, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Carl, unfortunately, has had injury issues and whatever.
Right.
And you were like a steal. I mean, they knew exactly what that couldn't have possibly worked out better for the Bengals to get you at that rate. But they're not known for spending in free agency. What other teams were you talking to? Do you remember back then?
I'm so blessed that we chose Cincinnati, and we wanted to be a part of changing that culture. Zach Taylor is a tremendous coach, and what he's done in the years he's been there, and getting a locker room nucleus that's been productive, and we've been in the conversation of being in the playoffs, if not making the playoffs in AFC Championships games. So we're going to get back to that. Obviously, like you're saying, I would like to be there long term in Cincinnati. I love it there. And to be in the playoffs and then punch your ticket, that's the first part, and then continue to grind to get to this where we won't be doing interviews on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm very impressed with how you're handling it. Very impressed. It's very professional because, so I'm like, Micah Parsons is from where I live too.
Right.
Like, both him and you, I don't know that I would have played this past year without a new deal. I mean, you guys are worth like $40 million a year.
Yeah, I'm not sweating because the Old Spice. So that's why.
But you guys are worth like at least $35 million a year. So for me, like, I don't know how you guys go out there. I mean, I don't know. Did you have like an insurance policy for this year?
It's a balance. There's a balance in life, and you have to be a professional at the end of the day. And, this is a blessing to play in the National Football League. And so many guys get caught up in this is all about me. And that's why, I try to use my platform as much as possible to glorify the Lord with credit to my teammates. Because if I was out there on my own and we had big offensive linemen blocking me, I think BJ did that one time against the Colts. 1 versus 5 is not a fair game. So that I'm able to have one-on-ones and produce and do that in stripes, it's a blessing.
Well, I hope it works out for you, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, too. Thank you.
As if I couldn't already love my dudes at Labatt enough, now you can get cool stuff for doing what you're going to do anyway. Drink beer. It's called Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt. Head to the website, snap a photo of your receipt, upload it instantly to rack up points for exclusive merch. How cool is this? You get points for every purchase at any store, bar, or stadium, any size, any product, anywhere you're buying Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Go to rewards.labattusa.com to sign up.
Tuck's Takes.
All right, Ross, always the biggest news every offseason, quarterback trade news. The Rams, they give Matthew Stafford ability to talk to other teams about a trade.
And it's funny because we have every week, Jack, as you know, we have the Labatt take of the week, right? Which is something I feel strongly about that we post on social media at Ross Tucker Pod. And I never know whether to save it because there might be something even bigger on Wednesday or bigger on Thursday. But I don't know. After I tell you what I think, you can tell me if you think this was the right decision or not. But I'm going to make this my Labatt take of the week. I think it's a really big deal. I really do. It's brought to you by Labatt. With Labatt, you can buy beer and get gear. Go to their website, snap a photo of your receipt, upload it to gain points towards exclusive merch. Any size, any product, anywhere you're buying Labatt. Sign up at rewards.labattusa.com. It makes absolutely no sense for the Rams to trade Matthew Stafford, and I don't think they're going to. I might end up being wrong. I think this is allowing Stafford to see what other teams would pay him so that the Rams and Matthew have a better idea of what his market value is so that they can agree to some type of new contract. He's underpaid for this year. They both recognize it. They just need to meet in the middle. I think he likes living in Los Angeles. I don't think he really wants to move. However, these are desperate times, call for desperate measures for a team like the Giants that needs to win this year. So the Giants might make the Rams an offer they can't refuse, but the Rams were at the 15-yard line against the Eagles in the divisional round. The Rams could have gone to the Super Bowl. The Rams have a chance to win the NFC. Stafford's still a top 10 quarterback. You do not move on from a top 10 quarterback when you have him. I'd be very surprised if Stafford ends up getting traded, although there's a lot of rumors out there that he's going to the Giants and Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with the Rams. We'll see.
Jaguars, they land on a GM hiring James Gladstone.
Well, before we get to that, Jack, I'm just curious. Like, am I out of my mind on the Stafford thing?
No, it reminds me a lot of like the Lamar Jackson situation from like 2 to 3 years ago, where they're like, yeah, we can grant you a trade, but we're not actually going to trade you. You're just going to see what your value is. That's what it reminds me of.
That's a great call. Jack, that is a fantastic call. Finally, you're adding value. What's it been, 2 years now? No, but you're right. There was no chance the Ravens were ever trading Lamar Jackson. Zero. Like, and anybody that talks with, I talk with so many coaches and GMs, they were never going to trade him. People are like, oh, the Falcons should get him. The Ravens, they know what it would have been like in Baltimore if they moved on from Lamar Jackson. That was never going to be a thing that actually happened. It's a really good point. Although, I do think, knowing the Rams organization, I think there's some chance here. I do. I think there's some chance that if the Giants gave them an awesome offer, and if they thought they could get, they could draft a quarterback this year perhaps, but have Aaron Rodgers, for a year or something, that they would consider it. It's funny. Did I tell you when I was in Montana skiing, I ran into Matthew Stafford?
You did not mention that. No, nice little humble brag there.
And I said, dude, that snow game against the Eagles was awesome. And he said, yeah, thanks. And I said, have you ever played in a snow game like that? And he said, no. He goes, actually, yeah. 2013 against Philly, the Shady McCoy game. So it's like funny, like the 2 times that he's played in snow have both been in Philadelphia. And it's so funny to like talk to a guy that's a top 10 quarterback. And even he calls it the Shady McCoy game, I just thought that was funny. But yes, I ran into Matthew very briefly skiing out there in Montana. By the way, incredible dad weekend this weekend. Incredible. Let's get through this stuff, and if we have time, I'll tell you. I'm like fully dad mode. If you follow me on Instagram, @RossTuckerNFL, you saw I was wearing the hat that Pat O'Donnell and Nick Foles gave me. Dad season, dad no days off. Because now that I'm not in football mode, and now that I'm not in Montana, it is like volleyball to tennis, back to volleyball, to musical rehearsal. And you know what? I wouldn't want it any other way. I love it. All right, James Gladstone. This is what's so interesting to me about these GMs, and something I actually want to talk with Thomas Dimitroff at some point this offseason, maybe even Andrew Brandt on Wednesday. No GMs ever get a second chance. It's like fascinating. You know what? I need to write that down. That might be my next article for the 33rd team. Or maybe I'll make it my newsletter. Almost no GMs ever get a second chance. They would much rather hire guys none of us have ever heard of. And by the way, the Jaguars had a very, very thorough interview process. And I texted Tony Baselli. Gosh, I'm doing a lot of name dropping today. It's not, if this is your first time watching the episode, it's not usually like this. But I was texting Tony Baselli over the weekend. Did you notice, Jack, how every time the Jaguars did a GM interview, they showed the same picture of Tony Baselli and the interviewee like walking somewhere in a hallway? Did you notice that?
I didn't notice it until you tweeted it, and then it became very apparent.
Oh my gosh, they did it like 5 times. Every guy. Well, so Tony and I are friends, and Tony's lost a bunch of weight. He's like in the 230s now. He looks phenomenal. And I texted him. I said, I'm 100%, same thing I tweeted. I'm 100% convinced you had them. He runs the show down there now. You had them post all these pictures. People could see how thin you are and how great you look. At any rate, I don't know anything about this guy other than he's coming from the Rams organization. And they obviously have done a fantastic job. He's a young guy, played D3 football like a lot of these guys, but super, super impressed with the Rams' recent drafts, which is probably why a guy like Gladstone gets hired, right? Because they think this guy knows the formula to draft these guys and get really good draft choices.
Eagles center Cam Jurgens, he underwent back surgery, and defensive end Nolan Smith had surgery for a torn triceps. Plus, any personal anecdotes there? Do you have any good stories of how you know these guys? We're going to continue this trend.
Well, we talked to Nolan Smith at the Super Bowl, and Cam, remember his rookie year when multiple times, this is actually a great story, multiple times when Cam played as a rookie because Kelsey was hurt, he was in the preseason games. He was running around like killing people in the preseason games. And twice I mentioned, what's the name of his website? Beefjerky.com or something like that?
I know it's Jergy. Like, I know that. I don't know the exact.
His nickname is Jergy, and he's got a beef jerky company. And multiple times I mentioned it during the preseason games, and he told me, he's like, yeah, we sold out twice, sold out of inventory, and we're backed up with in the shipping department. I'm like, who's the shipping department? He said, my mom. It was not a professionalized business as of yet. So, I'll probably do a Ross report on social media at Ross Tucker NFL about all the Eagles that played in the Super Bowl with, serious injuries. Nolan Smith will be back from the torn tricep. I will say, as a guy that had a back surgery, okay, I was able to play a few more years after that, Jack. I never felt like I got 100% back. You know what I mean? I guess I felt like I was just a tiny bit less explosive or a tiny bit less athletic, and maybe it wasn't perceptible to others, but it was to me. So that's certainly something to keep an eye on with Cam. Hopefully he has a terrific recovery and goes on to have a very long career. I'll just say I don't know anybody, if you talk to them, that says they used to have a bad back, right? It's kind of like once you have a bad back, you have a bad back on some level for the rest of your life. Now, my back feels great, and I do yoga twice a week, and I do core out my wazoo, and I feel good, but it's something I have to really be aware of.
Sticking in Philly, Kellen Moore and the Saints, they hired Doug Nussmeier as their offensive coordinator, and they bring in Brandon Staley, reversing roles with Kellen Moore as defensive coordinator.
So no issue with the Saints bringing in Nussmeier as the OC. He's Kellen Moore's guy. They were together in Dallas. They were together with the Chargers. I think it's incredibly cool he gets to be the offensive coordinator for an NFL team like an hour away from where his son is a projected first-round pick quarterback for LSU next year. I mean, how cool is that? That is awesome. Brandon Staley did a really nice job as a defensive coordinator for the Rams a few years ago before he got the Chargers head coaching job. And so I think he'll do a good job as D coordinator. I think he's a smart guy. I thought he kind of got away from his core beliefs when he was the Chargers head coach, and it cost him.
Zach Martin, he is retiring after 11 years that included 7 first-team All-Pro selections, while John Feliciano, he also retires after a 10-year career.
So I wanted to mention the Feliciano, okay, because they retired on the same day. Feliciano probably hates Zach Martin's guts. I mean, Feliciano has an incredible career, 10 really good years, starts like almost 100 games, and then later that day, Zach Martin retires. The only point I want to make about Feliciano, if you remember, he was on the show last year. We should reach out to him, Jack, try to get him on again. I can't overstate how impressive it is to play 10 years, play over 100 games, start close to 100 games. Feliciano, he's one of those guys that didn't make Pro Bowls or All Pros. A lot of people don't even know who he is. That is a really, really impressive NFL career. As for Zach Martin, I thought about making this my Labatt take. I think he's got a strong argument for being the best offensive guard ever. And the thing that's so impressive to me about him is, number one, his consistency, or number two, go look at his combine results. Nothing remarkable physically. There was not anything about Zach Martin that made you think, oh my gosh, this guy is so fast or big or strong or explosive. Nope, just an absolute technician and one of the best offensive linemen I've seen over the last 30 years. Extremely impressive. Zach, congratulations, man, on a ridiculous career.
Bears, they cut tight end Gerald Everett. The Bengals, they move on from defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins, while the Chargers, they signed safety Elijah Molden to a 3-year contract that includes $13.5 million guaranteed.
So Molden got hurt in that Chargers-Patriots game that I called for NFL Network. I remember that. He got hurt twice at the end of that game, and I think the second one was season-ending. The Chargers obviously really like him. I'm always a little bit confused when a guy does that now. I'm assuming he was going to be a free agent. Why not wait? I actually did that one time, and I guess the idea is because he's hurt, probably wouldn't get that money from anybody else, and so the Chargers are kind of doing him a solid by giving him that now. Gerald Everett did not work out for Chicago at all, and neither did Sheldon Rankins. He was supposed to be the replacement for the D tackle that they lost to the Lions, and it absolutely did not work out. What works out is college draft with Emory going over the second-tier quarterbacks in a combine preview. Have I told you guys lately what I love about Smirnoff? Well, I'm going to do it again. You can get the world's #1 vodka without breaking the bank. It's what the good folks over at Smirnoff call Smirnoff Extraordinary. Plus, right now, they've partnered with Complex, letting fans get their hands on some amazing items, handpicked by celebs, including NFL legend, Super Bowl champ Vernon Davis. They're all just $12.99, just like a bottle of Smirnoff. Head over to SmirnoffDrops.com to check out upcoming drops and check out these Smirnoff Extraordinary items. Go quick, they won't last long. Again, that's SmirnoffDrops.com. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer and may vary by state. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com, backofficescheduler.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture, and Delicious Pizza Boy Brewing.